Welcome back to Sunday Night Spookies, a podcast dedicated to exploring the mysterious and the spooky unknown. My name is Lex.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is episode 4, our on-location investigation of...
my house! All right.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. So I've been living here for going on 6 years. 5.5 years? 5 years? Something like that. When I first moved in, I moved in right after high school because that's where my husband lives. And we had like 4 of the roommates at that point. It's a pretty large house. There's a main floor, and upstairs, and a basement, and each floor has like bedrooms on it. I think it's like technically a 4 or 5 bedroom house. So when I first moved in, I didn't really notice anything weird because I had so many other roommates that anything I heard is like, oh,
you could just attribute it to
there's
others.
5 other people in this house. But as the roommates started to move out, I didn't like being here alone, and maybe that's just because I was like on my own.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until it was just me and my husband here for a while that things started to really pick up. And I think that was around the same time that I started working with you and we met. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like, I talk about it at work, like every now and again, like bring it up, like, yeah, something stupid happened in my house today, or like I heard footsteps upstairs or whatever. But I think the main turning point was our upstairs has a bedroom in it and like a little loft area. It's not really like an upstairs, really. It's like just, I don't know, this weird space. But I was putting my desk and like using it as an office space for a while. And one day I was like rearranging and cleaning up there, and we have this, and I mean, I'm trying to like look around the room to find it, but it's a lamp. Oh, it's right there. Okay. I can describe it better now. It's a tree with cherry blossoms on top, but the cherry blossoms have little tea lights in them. So they, like, you put batteries in it and flick on a switch and it lights up. Well, I had it up there as like a decoration because it's a pretty lamp and it's small, but I was cleaning up there and it started flickering a lot. And I'm like, oh, I must need new batteries or whatever. And then it stopped. So I go about my business and I ended up Snapchatting you that it was going off, and I was like answering questions and it would flicker, and it would wait for me to finish my question, and then it would flicker again, like it was responding to me. And that was kind of like the turning point. Like once I acknowledged something was here, all of the stuff kind of picked up. And then it was like, oh, you found me. Yes. Right. All of the stuff picked up.
So that was kind of when we decided that we needed to get something a little bit more high tech than a battery operated light. So we invested our $9.99 into the app that we talked about back in the Hellsbridge episode. Mm-hmm. And so we bought that, and things got kind of interesting. I mean, we would be here for sometimes hours at night, just like getting responses. And
that's kind of where Sunday Night Spookies came from. I mean, we told the story already, but it was always on a Sunday night that we would come investigate. But it's important to note that the activities never stayed consistent.
No, sometimes never anything.
Yeah, sometimes I'll go months without experiencing anything. And then sometimes it's like one thing after another is going on and happening. Mm-hmm. Like I've had some of the bigger occurrences was when I would hear like singing. And there was at one point I could like hum back what I was hearing because it was so clear that I could hear somebody singing. Like it was so very strange.
Mm-hmm. We've also put like a digital voice recorder into the upstairs room, and we heard on recording like a woman clearing her throat, but also like things falling on the floor in an empty room.
Yeah, and it was right next to the recorder, like somebody picked something up and then dropped it, which is strange. I've also had my friend Tiffany here, and she lived here for a while, and she had a girl come to her in her dreams, and that's kind of like
Rachel.
Yeah, we've kind of like reached out and think we've gotten responses from her before.
Well, I was on FaceTime with Tiffany one night, and she was asleep, and she's not like a dainty sleeper, I would say. So like you gotta shake her around to wake her up. You gotta shake her around to wake her up, and it was pretty bad. But I woke up and I noticed that she was sleeping on FaceTime, and I heard like a tiny voice. It didn't say anything specific, but it sounded like a
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded like a kid. And then I about
shit my pants.
shit my pants.
Use my favorite line.
Oh, shit my pants, because I was like, what the hell was that? Because it definitely was not her. So I don't know who made that noise.
Right. And there's like footsteps upstairs. Like we seem to get the most activity upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
in the loft.
Yeah, in the loft area. And then there's like a bedroom up there that we just use for storage. But we seem to get the most activity up there all the time.
It's also the weirdest vibes up there.
Yeah, it's like it hasn't been like updated or anything. I'm assuming since the house was built. Like the house was built like I think 47.
Yeah. Like the tile floors are like the floors that where like the whole tile just comes up, you know?
Yeah, it's like a sheet of linoleum.
I don't even know if it's
I don't think it's linoleum, but it's like a sheet of tile. And it's all wood paneled up there. Weird office tile ceilings. Like it's just weird. And I mean, we don't really spend any time up there, so there's no really need to update it.
Right.
There's nothing up there but storage. My cat spends a lot of time up there. It's his favorite place to go. But which is weird.
Wow. Reincarnate demons like to hang out with other
reincarnates. But and there's also been ever since the light happened, we've kind of been investigating, and there's been very specific points where we're like, oh my god, this is real. Like this is happening. We've also done a few cleansings of the house. We've left like obsidian around. We've put salt down sometimes, just because there was times where it felt not all good.
Right.
Like, and maybe benefit of the doubt, it could have just been our own minds. But the last time we did a really deep cleansing of the house, it kind of subsided.
Really kind of stopped altogether. Anything that we tried to do after that, we got really nothing.
Yeah, nothing. And before we were having like full-on conversations. Like you would put your headphones in the app and I would write down the kind of like you see on like Kindred Spirits. So you have your headphones on, your eyes are closed, you can't hear me, I'm asking questions and you're responding. And
I had headphones on, so I couldn't hear any of the questions they were asking, so that I couldn't give the answer.
Like you couldn't be listening for answers.
Right.
That would make sense. And that's kind of the investigations we would do, and we would have a ton of responses. Like I think I have those papers somewhere down here. But I remember the one time, I'm an opera student, and somehow music came up in the investigation, and I started singing, and you were responding with musical terms that like correlated with what I was doing, or you were like, you said basement, and that's where my piano is. I practice down here in the basement. That's where like my practice room is. Like that part sticks out to me because it was so relevant to what I do on a daily basis.
Or I think it told you to sing, and I said sing, and so you did.
Yeah.
And then it said forte, and
I'm louder.
I'm not musical, so I thought forte just meant like, hey man, that's your forte. You're good at that. But it means sing louder. Apparently.
Yeah, forte is a volume description. But that was, and that happened a few times. Like we're not singing specifically, but you would have your headphones on, and we would get extremely clear answers. And
intelligent answers.
Yeah, and we've also tried to dig up some history on the house, and we can't really find anything crazy. Like we could find like who lived here before, Austin's family. It was built in the 1940s. That's kind of it. We had like nothing tragic that we could find happened here. Nobody died in the house, like nothing. So I don't know, like if something tragic happened nearby and people are just passing through,
or maybe people are just drawn to us because we're a bunch of open weirdos who are down to communicate.
That very well could be true.
Like a magnet.
Yeah. But so we decided that we were going to do a episode on my house. We were going to do another investigation because like we said, we really haven't gotten anything significant as of late. We did.
Yes, we did.
Spoiler alert. But it hasn't been hopping like it has been in the past. So I think we did 2 nights. And the first night, well, first of all, we have some new equipment. We went and bought an Xbox Connect. Shout out to my disc traders. I got it for $15 with a free cord.
So how the Connect works is you can download a software to your computer, and plug the Kinect in via USB cord to a computer or tablet. Once it's plugged into the computer and you open the software,
The software you can just download from Microsoft, right?
Yeah,
It
it's
was directly
free software.
from Microsoft. So it's not going to like ruin your computer or anything.
Right, no, it's legitimate. We've opened it a few times and nothing crazy has happened. So you open up the software once you have the Kinect all hooked up, and right away you can see the way the video kind of looks on the computer, but you can't see any of the infrared lights that the Kinect uses. So the Kinect has one camera that just records the room, but then it has another more complicated camera that relies on infrared light to work. It emits infrared lights and it kind of covers the room that you're in with the infrared light. That camera sees the infrared waves as they bounce off of people and the objects in the room, and the closer an object gets to the camera, the brighter the lights are. So that's how it kind of distinguishes the depth of a person's figure.
Yeah, and like we notice if you stand too close to it, like if it can't get your major joints, like if it can't pick up on your hips or your shoulders,
It will not register.
it won't register you. Like the stick figure part, it won't track you.
Right.
You could just see yourself on the camera.
Yep. And so that kind of creates like a wire skeleton
Creepy
form.
yellow stick figure.
Yeah, lime green or whatever, and it tracks your body movements that way.
Yeah, and it's like it's built to only pick up humanoid figures.
Yep.
Because my cat was walking back and forth in front of it, and it couldn't pick. Like it wasn't wire skeleting him.
Right.
I just created a new word. It's pretty cool.
And then like if I got too close to the Kinect, it wouldn't pick me up.
Yeah, or if we stepped out of frame too fast, it would look like our stick figure like stuck to the side of the.
Or it would be like
frame.
a crumpled up wire skeleton, like just kind
Yeah.
of floating in midair. And so, and we were able to do that a couple of times to kind of
Get some
debunk.
debunkability in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my coined term. So,
Don't use it if you want to pay me.
yeah. So yeah, we were able to debunk a couple of things during our investigation. And so I think we were not naive in that way.
Yeah, we set it up and played with it a little bit. Like the first night, we did it in the basement, and there wasn't really high hopes because, like I said, we don't usually get anything in the basement. Like there's been one or two times where we've gotten a few significant things in the basement, but not much. Like the most of the stuff we've gotten on the main floor or upstairs. And so we kind of just set it up at the desk and pointed it at our table where we record. And we were walking in front of it. We jumped in and out of frame. We sat down. Like we were testing a bunch of stuff, and we recorded while we were doing it in the hopes of getting something.
Yep.
We didn't that first night. It was just kind of bust, which was really disappointing. But
Disappointing, but also like still fairly creepy because we had the spirit box going.
yeah, and for some reason the Kinect and the frickin' wire skeletons freak me out, and I don't know why. I'm not somebody who gets freaked out super easily, but I think it's like it's showing something that I can't physically see, and I don't like that.
Right.
Like I can hear things on the spirit box, get a little creeped out, but that's fine. But I think that first night we tried it, I was like cowering on the couch. I'm like, if this thing picks something up, I'm gonna lose it. Like,
Well, it's like it's solidifying something, and
I just think the stick figures are creepy.
it's solidifying something that you can't see, and like hypothetically you're cool with it being there, right? Because like
wouldn't be
we're
doing
into
it.
paranormal
Yeah.
stuff, and like that's cool for us, but then at the same time it's just like, holy shit,
That's
you're actually
right there.
you're like in here, bro.
Yeah.
So we got really nothing except for, and it didn't happen on the spirit box, but
No. And look, we didn't get anything on the spirit box.
No.
At all. Or the EMF. Nothing the first night.
no, but Sarah was on the couch, and I
Cowering
was
in terror.
yes, and I was standing up in the frame of the Kinect, and I was maybe 2 feet away from the wall. Like my back was facing the wall, and I was maybe 2 feet from it.
Side note, the wall you were sitting in front of is really freaking creepy anyway, because I'm sitting right next to it. This bookshelf, like, because we're in our basement and one side of it is a cement wall, and on the cement wall I have this bookshelf that is like an in the wall bookshelf, but that's got handles on it, and the whole bookshelf you can pull out, and there's a cement room back there. And I think it's like the water here or something. There's some kind of house machine back there. I can't remember what it was. I asked my husband the other day and I forgot. So it's there. You can hear
there is a room.
Yeah, and a concrete room back there, which is just
on its own a little bit unnerving.
Yeah. Like, what was it used for?
But I was probably, not even 3 feet away from the wall. And we had the spirit box going, and we had the Connect going and the EMF going. And behind me, I heard like a very clear, like, female sound. I don't know how to even explain it, but I don't remember if it was like a ooh or a or something like that.
Some kind of vocal.
Yeah, and I like whipped around and I was like, I think you can hear me on a recording. I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, well, and I shot up and I looked at the camera because I thought you saw something on the camera. So I freaked out and like burrowed down further into the couch, like, shit, man, I don't want to see nothing. But there was something on the Connect, and she did. She just whipped around and was like,
I was like, holy crap! It scared.
You like walked away from the wall at that point. You moved somewhere else.
I was like, I'm gonna go over here because it was audible to me.
And I didn't hear it. And the recording didn't hear it.
Not via the spirit box. You couldn't hear it on like the phone recording or anything. It was just
but it was
definitely behind me in my left ear. And I whipped, I was like, whoo, and then I like turned around.
Yeah, genuine reaction though, because you scared me when you reacted.
It scared the crap out of me.
I think I yelled. Because I thought that you saw something on the spirit box, and I didn't want to see anything on the Connect. I didn't want to see anything on the Connect.
Nope.
So that was pretty much it for the first night. We just called it. I think it was like a half an hour. We just called it quits because we did not get anything. We didn't even like your eyes weren't even watering. We got no like weird vibes, which kind of like makes you think that maybe something did tragic happen. Nope. Which makes you think that something did happen nearby that was tragic for things to just kind of pass through. Because there's some nights we don't get anything.
Right. But then some nights it's like crazy. Never ending.
Yeah. And it's like some other nights we get so much activity we don't want to stop. And every time we try to stop, we get more things and more things. And it just turns into like a whole night affair. But we did it. I think it wasn't the next night. It was a few nights later that we tried. And this night we decided to do upstairs on the main floor in my living room. And this night was just very weird. We got some stuff. We didn't get a lot. Not as much voices and answers on like the spirit boxes we have in the past.
Lots of visuals.
And I think this is the night that it freaks me out the most. Because like I said, this is like the second time using the Connect. We didn't get a lot of voices, really. I mean, we got some,
but not a lot.
But not as much as some other nights we've done in the past. But a lot of visuals and a lot of weird things happening with the spirit box and the EMF specifically.
Yep.
So like I said, we started in the living room, and our plan was that we were going to go upstairs at some point. Yeah. We weren't going to start up there because that's scary to start right there. But we were setting up, and I have this little like black tray table, and we set up the Connect against the window with the laptop pointing towards like the most blank wall in my living room. And it was the staircase as well. So you could see the staircase in the background. And we hadn't even started recording on the laptop yet because we can screen record on our laptop.
Yep.
And we got something on the Connect. And I immediately pulled up my phone and freaking out. And it's like, just to give you like a reference, my staircase doesn't have a railing on it. It's just kind of like the wall covers the steps, but then there's nothing after that. It's like you could fall off the stairs.
Open.
Yeah, just open, whatever. And I have a whiteboard up there. I had a little coffee table, and my cat has like this fuzzy stool that he'll sit on. That's where his favorite spot to lay. So the Connect was picking all of that up, and you had just turned on the software.
And then I think my body was like covering the camera because I was kind of like hunched over
because the tray table is short.
Yeah, I was kind of like bending over trying to get the camera situated. And so I think like my body was covering it, but then I moved to the side.
And there was a small little figure. It looked like at first it was sitting up against the wall with one of its knees like hugged in. Like it had its like elbow resting on its knee, just chilling.
Yep.
Like just sitting there. And so we start freaking out. And we'll put like a clip of this on our Instagram. So make sure you follow us on our Instagram.
At Sunday Night Spookies.
Yeah. Shameless plug. So yeah, we start freaking out. I start recording on my phone. And then you frantically try to get it recorded on the laptop.
Very frantically.
Very frantically. And my cat is sitting on a stool right there. And the figure is sitting next to the stool. And we're talking and we're freaking out. And all of a sudden, you can see the figure move and pet my cat.
Very obviously.
Clearly. It reaches for the cat. And then the cat, my cat's an asshole. It doesn't like to be touched really. Unless he comes to you. It's very, early in the morning, he likes to be pet and loved on. But other than that, it's like, don't touch me. I'm doing my own thing. But you can see him in the video. The figure reaches up and touches him for a second and like moves its hand like it's petting it. And then my cat like shakes his head and gets up. Like something just freaking touched him.
Yep.
It was.
And it's important here too because Sushi is like the most observational cat that's ever existed. He doesn't move around a lot. He just kind of perches somewhere and then watches all of the time.
Yeah, like he loves being on the stairs because if he sits on the stairs, there's no railing or wall there, so he can just look over the stairs and he can see the entire living room. And my living room's not that big, but that's his favorite thing to do is sit up there and look over on the window or look over at us if we're on the couch or whatever. He just sits still and watches. And the fact that he shook his head and then walked towards me
he got off of the stool and physically walked somewhere else.
Right. After it pet him, oh my gosh, it was just
mind-blowing.
Yeah, and
that soon. It almost felt as though we interrupted it.
Yeah, and because it was just sitting there like petting the cat. And then because we tried to debunk it. We freaked out for a minute, we watched it for a minute, and then we thought, okay, maybe it's like picking something up from the little coffee table that's right there, or maybe something was weird. So as soon as you got into frame and started moving the table that was next to it, or no, it stood up on the table. I always forgot about that. I don't like that. So after the cat moved, you can see it
like
pull itself.
Slowly like pulled itself kind of in like a really weird way, but it pulled itself on top of that little table, and then it kind of just stood up.
It
wasn't standing before. It was cross-legged or knee up, something on the floor, and then it pulled itself up, stood on top of the table, stood there, and then I walked over to move the table, and when I started to move it, it disappeared.
It moved, yeah. And I just had this thought. I'm like frantic because like remembering it is so freaky to me, but it's funny that it stood right there because I always say I'm not going to stand on my coffee table. I'm going to break it. But
same.
It's a small table. I have a large ass. But it stood up on the table in a way where I would stand in front of the table. Because like I said, there's no railing on my stairs. And my cat will sit up on the stairs and I'll play with him. So I'll like move my hand over the wall and under the wall and like play with like you do with cats. I'll stand right where it was standing and play with the cat because the cat sits right up on top of there. I just had that thought. That's weird. I wonder if they like play with the cat.
If they're like, wait, I wonder if he moved up there.
Yeah. But as soon as you came into frame and started moving the table, it
completely disappeared. But it was also mapping me.
At the same time, yeah, you backed up. So it wasn't just a glitch that you were standing too close to the camera. It was mapping both of you. And both of you were moving independently. It wasn't like when you moved, it moved.
Right.
It was completely independent, which was what I think solidified it the most for me, is that when you came into frame, it didn't move.
No.
It was there. It was still there.
Definitely check out that video on our Instagram. It'll be up at the same time this is up.
Yeah. Oh, and it was a kid-sized figure. It was small.
Very much kid-sized.
Yeah,
because I sat on the floor afterward, kind of in the same spot, just a little bit over from it. And my wire skeleton was bigger than the wire skeleton.
Yeah,
that we
and
saw.
like its head didn't really come up over the wall too much when it was sitting on there, like where the diagonal wall is for the stairs, and yours did. Like your torso came up against it and your head was above that like half wall that's right there. So your skeleton was much bigger. And when it pulled itself up onto the little coffee table that's right there,
it was short.
Its head just came over the wall where the stairs is again. It's such a weird...
You can see it on the Instagram.
Yeah, it's such a weird setup.
Yeah.
But when I stand right there, I have to crouch down to like play with the cat, so the cat doesn't see me. It's just my hand to like messing with him. But it was kind of like we interrupted him. It was like freaking just chilling there. And then after that, we like frantically got all of our stuff set up because we weren't prepared for that. We hadn't really set anything else up except the Kinect.
It was going to be a slow start.
Yeah,
But
it was not.
it was not a slow start.
No.
So we're just kind of going to jump into sharing the audio clips that we got during the investigation. The first one really happened right after we got everything set up officially, after we had seen the miniature stick figure and everything was set up and ready to go.
Yeah, and we had moved the coffee table and the stool out from frame.
Yes.
Just in case that was what was messing up with the Kinect, like if it was a glitch.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It was not. And so this first clip, we were trying to get whatever was in the room to come back.
And you were sitting right
cross-legged
next to,
on the floor right next to where the stick figure was before that. So we're going to insert that clip now. Do you want to come sit next to me on the floor?
Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Is
that upstairs?
Footsteps upstairs, like right above us.
You can come down. So you can kind of hear in the audio clip where we're kind of trying to convince whatever was down there prior to come back. And you can hear footsteps in the loft.
Yeah, and you can't hear it super clearly on this recording, but to us in the moment, this whole house is creaky. And you could hear where, like, if anybody's ever walked on a really creaky floor, the more weight you put on your feet, the more intense the creak gets. And that's kind of what we were hearing, is you hear the step and then the creak where, like, you put your weight on that foot and then you put the weight on the next foot kind of thing. It was very clear that it was footsteps.
We're going to insert kind of the, like, knocking footsteppy sound again right now.
So after we were like trying to entice the figure to come down and it wasn't working, we then decided to turn on the spirit box. And at first we weren't getting really anything, except we kept hearing weird, like, bird whistles. Like,
Yeah.
and it was like, yeah, I think you can hear me say, was that birds? Like in the clip, because it sounds like morning birds just chirping away at like 1 a.m. Like,
And we've never gotten that sound on the
never
spirit box
gotten it before,
So,
which was just so weird.
no, we'll insert it now. Hello?
Birds.
Those were just the initial bird sounds that we heard. We also heard bird sounds a little bit later in the investigation.
Like, constantly kept coming up.
Yeah, and so we're going to insert another clip of that right here too. These are the weirdest.
Goddamn birds.
It's the weirdest noises. Other than the bird sounds, we really weren't getting anything on the spirit box. And because I am perpetually unhappy with nothing happening, I can't help myself but to change the settings on the spirit box. So that's what I was doing. Originally, it was on FM, the FM setting. But I really like how AM sounds better. It's clearer. The white noise is better, and I don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's better for functionality, but for my ears it's better.
Yeah.
And I like the AM one better. And so I changed the settings, and right after I changed to the AM frequency, we got this.
Hey.
To us, it's pretty clear that that recording says, hey.
It's so clear.
It so much presence to it. There was really no questioning it.
Which is kind of interesting because it sounds young. And our little stick figure was young.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to play it again for you and let us know if you hear something different. After we got the very audible, hey, we didn't really get anything for a little bit, and I wasn't frustrated, but I was just kind of like, hey, we know that you're here. We saw that you were here, and we just want to communicate with you. And so I turned into like a miniature sass master, but I really wanted whatever was there to come back. And so we were kind of messing around with the EMF detector because we noticed that it was kind of flickering between a solid 0, 0 and 0.01, which isn't a huge fluctuation, but we kind of just had a feeling that something was messing with it.
Yeah, and it would jump to like a 0.02 or 0.03, but nothing higher than that.
Right. Can you make the green light go to 0.04? It went to 2. That's really good. At this point, the EMF was going kind of like fluctuating, but the highest that it went to was 0.03. And in my head, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe it's just trying to not go above 0.04 because that's what I asked for. And so maybe it was trying to be really specific and only get to 0.04. And maybe it was being timid about getting there. So I told it, well, I guess asked it if it could get it to go even higher than 0.04, and this is what happened. Maybe even higher than 0.04? That's fine too. That was awesome. Awesome. That was so good. Do you think that you could do it again?
So that beep that you hear is the EMF jumping up. I want to say it's above like 0.2 or 0.3 something. A lot higher than what we were getting. If like the screen will turn red and the alarm will go off when it gets to like a certain level. And we asked it to do it again, and it didn't for a while. It didn't, like, it kind of just stopped messing with the EMF. So you were sitting on the floor, and then I was sitting on the couch, and I got up and like walked in front of the Kinect, and I was like kind of talking about like, this is what it looks like if you walk on screen, and we'll be able to see you because it can see your shape. And then we got a response to that, which is what this is. You can see us on this camera over here. Can you walk in front of it so we can see your
Shape? Body outline? We know that's a little bit hard to hear, so we're gonna insert that clip again right now.
shape.
To us, it sounds like the person responding is saying shape, which would be kind of a direct response to what I said.
We also heard that in the moment too.
Yeah, like instantly we were both like, what? Shape? And then after that, we were kind of just sitting there talking, and
Things had died down a little bit.
yeah, and just kind of shooting the shit. And then when I was listening to everything that we recorded back to make notes of what I wanted to include, I heard something that didn't really sound human to me, but not in like an animalistic way, but just, I don't know, it didn't sound like either one of us, and so I saved it so that Sarah could listen to it,
Which I just did like 3 seconds ago.
and this is what we found, and then we'll tell you our thoughts on it after.
That's so crazy.
When I originally played that back, I didn't hear anything specific. I just knew that it sounded kind of different, and that's why I decided to save it. But when Sarah listened to it, you immediately heard something.
Yeah, to me it sounds like motion.
And it totally does.
Yeah, and like normally that wouldn't really make any sense, but we're using a motion detective type device. Maybe that's correlated. I don't know. But it doesn't sound like previous voices we've had in the spirit box. It sounds very weird.
It sounded like overlapping voices.
Yeah, like you use the example, like if you watch like The Exorcist or something, anybody who's like possessed by demons, they have like that, like when they speak, it sounds like multiple things speaking because it's them and the demon and more demons or whatever.
Like it sounds like the original person, but also the demon. Or
yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like. And it's also over multiple sweeps.
Yeah. Normally they say like with the spirit box, if you hear one thing or like a little like glip over one sweep of the spirit box, that it's probably just radio interference. But because that happened over, I think like 3 or 4 sweeps even.
Yeah, multiple.
Which tells us that it's not just a radio anomaly, it's something else.
So, yeah, something trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know.
After that happened, we noticed that the EMF detector wasn't really fluctuating at all. It was kind of sitting at like a 0.00. And so I kind of didn't want to badger any presences, but I'm just like,
the word badger.
I wanted to ask, hey, did you just like leave or what?
What are we doing?
And something kind of crazy happens in this clip, and you will hear our reactions.
Also, you can see it on Instagram at Sunday Night Spookies.
Shameless plug. Did you leave us, the person that was making the green light beep? It just started doing it again when I said it. That's awesome. We know it takes a ton of energy. Yes.
So, as you can hear, my reaction was very intense. But we were reacting to, because as soon as you asked, like, did you leave us or whatever you asked, the EMF started going off again. And we also had our big reaction that we had a twisty flashlight where you like twist the end of it to go off, and it went off like right after the EMF spiked. Then the flashlight went off
Very brightly,
like full.
Yeah, it lit up the entire room, which
I mean, it's not a very big room, but
right, but it did. And there's some talk among like experts or skeptics even, and they say that the kind of flashlight that we're using will turn on because of like the heating and cooling of something inside the magnet,
like the metal pieces to the whatever.
Right. And so that could be true in the interest of debunkability. And
however,
right, before I set the flashlight down, I left it so that it could only be turned a teeny tiny bit before the light turned on. And I even hit the flashlight on the little stool to make sure that like a little bump wouldn't turn it on. Yeah,
like you still had to put some effort into turning it. You just didn't have to turn it very far.
Right. Like it couldn't just be like shaken.
I couldn't breathe on it and it was going to turn on.
Right. It wouldn't turn on when I was shaking. I like shook the flashlight, hit it on the stool. It would not turn on.
So at this point, we were trying to get it to mess with the EMF again. We were trying to get the flashlight to turn back on, and it didn't. Like the EMF stopped spiking, the flashlight didn't turn back on. So we moved the stool out of the way, and we were up walking around in front of the Connect, just kind of waiting for something to happen. We were like nearing the end of our night at this point. Like we had been investigating for a while.
We weren't really sure if anything else was going to happen.
Yeah, so we were just kind of walking around in circles in the living room in front of the Connect, just watching ourselves on it like idiots.
Messing around, baby.
Yeah. But so I sat down on the couch and then you were still up. And I thought it was my skeleton like glitching out, but something else appeared on the Connect. And I because the couch was just outside of the frame. So I kicked my arms and legs out to see if it would pick me up and then glitch out, and it didn't. No. And you were walking around too, and it was tracking again, both of you independently. This figure was taller than you. It was bigger, a lot bigger. And it took up a lot more of the screen. Like, it looked like it was either very large
or very close to the screen.
very close to the screen.
It kind of just stood there for almost 2 minutes, I want to say. It was a good chunk of time that it was standing there. And during that time, we asked it to wave a couple of times. The first time I asked, it didn't wave. The second time I asked, it didn't wave immediately, but then it did about 20 seconds later.
Yeah, and it was a clear pick the arm up and wave at the elbow type thing.
And that's something that you can see on our Instagram at Sunday Night Spookies.
We're terrible.
We're gonna put that video on our Instagram so that you guys can see it. But it stood there, and then I walked in front of the screen and it was gone.
Yeah, I think you walked in front of where it would have been or should have been. And my theory on that, I haven't done like any research into this, but I think that the more like, because both times we walked in front of or super close to these figures, I think that if something more solid comes into contact with what it's tracking or in front of what it's tracking, I think that our bodies are so much more solid than whatever it's trying to pick up. We just take over the screen.
Yeah. Or like because it seems like a lot of times like the wire skeleton will kind of just like snap in
to ours.
Into ours or like our space.
Because I think because we're definitely there and that thing might not be.
Right.
It's not as solid as we are, obviously. I think the Kinect is just like, oh, I must be glitching. And it just stops tracking that and tracks us specifically.
After we saw the second figure, we didn't really get anything in that room, so we decided to move all of our equipment and the Kinect so that it would face the stairs, but also kind of the living room.
Yeah, there was like a quarter of the screen that was still kind of in the living room. Like if I stood up against the stairs where that like first figure was, you could see me. But you could also see you sitting on the stairs, like all the way up the stairs.
Yep. And in the next clip, you can hear me ask if there's anyone upstairs, because that's where we feel like the most activity happens. And I get a response, but neither one of us can really understand what it says.
Yeah, it's a few seconds in.
Yeah, there's like some radio interference, and then towards the end of the clip, it sounds like an exclamation or
somebody yelling at somebody else to do something. Like that's just how it sounds.
Yeah, so we're gonna insert it here, and we want to know what you guys think it says. Is there anyone upstairs? So then we were just kind of sitting on the stairs, waiting for the next cool thing to happen. And we heard on the spirit box what sounded like someone saying stairs. And we weren't entirely sure about it. So Sarah kind of asked, like, well, where do you want us to go?
Like, off the stairs that we're on or down the stairs? Because we were on the stairs leading upstairs.
So we hear something at the end of the clip that sounds remarkably clear.
To us anyway.
And we really hope that it translates over, because we heard it even in the moment there.
Yeah, and I think in the moment, because I was recording video on my phone, I think I stopped the video and played it back.
Yeah, and we heard
it on the phone too.
Yeah, so we're going to insert it here, and quick reminder that it's at the end of the clip.
Off the stairs, or do you want us to go downstairs to the basement?
And now we're going to insert a clip of us playing it back and Sarah being really excited about it.
Off the stairs, or do you want us to go downstairs to the basement? I told you, bitch. I told you.
That said basement.
That's a whole ass said basement. So clearly I need to work on my overreacting. Which is funny because most people who know me tell me I don't talk enough in general. And here I am yelling at you. Bitch, I told you. So after we, or mainly I, freaked out about that for a minute, we restarted the spirit box. And you had a question because we weren't going to go down to the basement unless it was going to be somebody that's like of light and love.
Yes.
Like, we're not going to be told to go down to the basement by some demon and be like trapped down here. Like, we've seen too many stupid horror movies for that. So we went back up on the stairs. We're sitting down and we started the spirit box again. And then you had a question and we got a direct response to that question.
Yep. I have a follow-up question to your request for us to go to the basement. You can almost hear a woman say, "What? Like, what's your question?" Like, almost, maybe even almost annoyed.
Yeah.
Like,
what?
What's your question? Let's get it over with. And so we asked, "Are you nice?" And we asked that question a couple of times, and we weren't really getting any responses that we could hear for sure. So then Sarah chimed in.
Here's the thing, we can go to the basement, but if you're not going to be nice, we can't keep talking. Nice!
Obviously, Sarah heard the word nice while we were actually investigating. And it's a little bit hard to hear on playback, but there was really no question during the investigation. We felt a little bit more comfortable to move to the basement like it had previously requested. And so we started packing up all our stuff, and then I made a statement to to the entity that we were talking to, and they had a response from me.
Now don't go do anything cool, or we're not recording, okay?
We're gonna head down to the basement like you asked. Listen. No. Listen.
So if any of you played the Legend of Zelda games, that noise might sound familiar to you. As soon as we played it back and I heard it, listen, it sounded like Navi from the Legend of Zelda games, which we play a lot of in this household. So maybe the ghosts watch Zelda. Who knows?
Maybe.
But anyway, after that, we started to get our stuff around to go downstairs. And you were in the bathroom and I was in the kitchen getting a Klondike bar. Because at this point it was midnight and I needed it. And then upon listening to this back, you hear my name in here.
Mm-hmm.
We think I'd prefer not to say my name, but it's kind of clear.
Yeah, you can clearly hear Sarah almost immediately after we heard shuffling upstairs. And it was like...
Yeah, we did hear the shuffling.
I heard shuffling and I was like, I just heard something upstairs.
And then we get down and then that's what happens, okay?
Yeah, and then you can hear Sarah pretty clearly. So we're going to insert that here. If you listened to our Hellsbridge episode, you might remember that me and Sarah had a little dispute over whether or not we heard, I think that was the Necrophonic app.
Yeah.
Say Sarah or disturb. But I think in this case, there's really no questioning it because it fully says Sarah. Almost like it's trying to get your attention because you were out of the room.
Yeah, I was getting my Klondike bar. I don't want it to say my name. Stop it. I'm fine without you saying my name. So that's really all we got for this time around. Next time we hope to get a little bit more. I hope that, as terrifying as it is, I hope the Connect shows to be useful.
For real.
Yeah, like I said, as terrifying as it is, I want to see more.
Mm-hmm. Like we said earlier in the episode, you can find our video evidence of our Connect findings on our Instagram at Sunday Night Spookies. You can also get a hold of us on Twitter at Sunday Spookies, and you can find us on Facebook at the Sunday Night Spookies podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sunday Night Spookies.
Join us next week for our topic episode about mermaids.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always,
Stay spooky.
Fucking damn it. I hate my voice.
Oh, yeah. Deep crack.
Is that recorded?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Sure was. Okay.
Why did
It started.
It's gonna hear you crunch. As you can tell, we really like to eat Pringles when we record.
But before I set it down,
God damn it.
I fucking hate this computer.
Piece of shit.
Going off in the middle of our podcast. And
It's showtime, bitch.
showtime! All of the stuff picked up. Ta-da!
That's it.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Sunday Night Spookies.
That's the end of our
Get out.
episode.